100%.
Well, hello there.
Hello, everybody.
Friends, lovers, and fellow Christmas celebrators. It's not Christmas yet. Little bit of Christmas today. And I'm going to tell you why. Thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir. And you. And we are glad you are here. Making sure I've got my chat up and running here. I do see you on the Facebook side, and I don't know why YouTube isn't behaving. Are we streaming on YouTube? Can you see it there?
Yeah, it's there.
Oh, there we are. Okay. Sorry about that. Folks, thank you for joining us, because last show in November, next show is going to be in December, and we may have to reschedule next Sunday a little bit. We'll talk about that. So it was important for us to get a chance to say hi to you, even though we just rolled back into town from Port Huron, Michigan.
Yes, we're a couple of Rolling Stones.
Yes, celebrating our 23rd wedding anniversary yesterday.
Yes.
And I've got to give a big shout out to all of you on Facebook and anywhere else. I think a little bit on Twitter there, but hundreds of reactions, almost 100 comments, wishes. You guys are the best. And yeah, it was a great anniversary. We are proud, happy, could not be happier to have celebrated 23 years married, 29 years together.
It was wonderful.
Did you have a nice weekend?
We made a very nice weekend of it. Good job.
Yes. It's funny because in the past we've renewed our wedding vows.
Yeah.
Including in the original chapel where we were married. We've thrown, a second wedding reception, rock and roll party. And this one was just the two of us.
Yeah.
23rd, so it's not one of those landmark numbers, but it was a great weekend. We may talk about that a little bit. But first, today is Sunday, November 26th, 2023, the 330th day, 330. 330th day of 2023. I hope so far it has been your best year yet. If not, that's cool. You've got a whole month to make it so. Best month of the year. It's the most wonderful time of the year. I don't want to criticize the lounge singer that we listened to last night at the Speakeasy, but well, he was just about that good. So it was great, though. There are still speakeasies out there. We have talked about the Relief and Resource Company. I should say that quietly because it's a hidden speakeasy in Fenton, Michigan. Speakeasies are still out there, even though liquor is legal. Secret bars nobody knows about, unless, of course, you do. Well, we found a speakeasy in Port Huron, Michigan.
Yes, it was great.
It was great, and it's located in the same place as there's a bar where you can throw axes.
Yes.
It's the craziest thing.
It was a lot of fun. It was very, very stylized, very fun. The speakeasy was called Moon Cursors.
Yeah. Remind me the name of the action. Bootleggers.
Bootleggers
Axe Company.
Yeah.
So with a name like Bootleggers, you might figure something was up. But they have axe throwing and, in cages, so if your axes go awry, nobody gets killed but you yourself. And a great bar and a great view of Black River, which is the river that comes off of the water in Port Huron, Blue Water Bridge.
Yes. And
there's a display case with axes. So you can presumably buy fancy axes or use better axes than the ones they rent out. And it's behind steel wire, so you can't just mess with them. But it's this great looking display case.
Yeah.
Except if you pull on the display case, it actually swings open as a secret door leading to secret stairs going downstairs to the speakeasy.
Yes.
Too cool. That was fun.
The gentleman at the door last night, because we went there earlier in the day to throw axes, and Robert and I,
yes.
I think I got one bullseye or maybe two, but you got several bullseyes.
You did good.
You did really much better than me.
Pictures and video are on Facebook. Facebook.com/Robert Nasir. Facebook.com/Amy Nasir.
Yeah, but
see Amy throw, and these are serious axes.
they are serious. They're quite sharp and they are heavy.
Yeah.
And they get heavier somehow. Gravity kicks in even harder after a while. So it's just a little bit harder to get a good straight shoot, straight throw after a while. So it's a little bit challenging, but it was a lot of fun. The gentleman who was in charge of the door last night when we went to the speakeasy tried to throw us off and ask us what the password was.
What's the password?
And all of this stuff. So I just threw out the word anti-prohibition. He let us
Prohibition's a
in.
good password. That's good. Equal to reality says sounds accident. I thought it sounded excellent, but accident I guess makes more sense.
Yes.
Because Christopher Smith is saying, yeah, hard liquor and axes. Great
Yes.
plan.
Exactly.
It is a great plan. Go out drinking and throwing axes. I recommend it heartily if you can find a place near you that does it. We didn't know it was there. Port Huron being an hour and a half outside of where we live, it's a bit of a drive. I wouldn't go there every week, but very, very cool. And crazy stuff. So as I say, November 26th, day 330 of the year, 35 days left to make sure this is your best year yet. And again, it's the best month because Christmas is in 29 days.
Well, I should say I've got some of my Christmas shopping done.
Most of our Christmas shopping is done.
Yeah,
Well, you've done most of our Christmas shopping.
I did, and I already have a plan for making an ornament for people. So it's good. Hopefully it'll work out. Hopefully I can get everything together by that time in a couple of weeks.
Piece of cake. In fact, we'll talk about cake.
Yes.
Yes. Jim Ashley says, my clone can't find you on YouTube. I don't know why the show announcement doesn't pop up on YouTube. It might be because I scheduled it less than an hour before the show. Because, again, we rolled in late. I really appreciate those of you who did click on the link that I put out there and came to the YouTube version of the show.
Yes.
Presumably it'll show up later, too, for the folks who watch it after the fact. But on the Facebook Live side, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Petya, for watching us over there. Very cool. Oh, Jim says, I just signed into YouTube and did a search for 5 minutes and found only old episodes. Yeah, apparently I'm guessing it's because it was scheduled a little less than an hour before the show. I know that can cause algorithmic issues because Al Gore is getting very old and his algorithms aren't as good as they used to be. So
equal to reality, Alex says, I guess, Amy, you're a cut above.
A cut above. You are. Man, find the video clip of that bullseye.
It's a great video.
It is.
It's nice.
It is.
It's very deceptive and how good I am at it. But
I did find it came more naturally for me as we went. I felt real good by the end of it. And our time cut off because they rent by the hour or the half hour. But that was super cool. Okay, real quick. On this date, because it is November 26th, this is the date that the film Casablanca premiered in New York City. I'm not going to say anything about it, other than if you've never seen Casablanca or haven't seen it in a while, you need to see Casablanca. And the reason why? There's lots of reasons, and they're all given in the link that I put in the show notes. Look on the description on YouTube or the description on Facebook Live. The link that I put for Casablanca is actually Amy and me and Nikos Sotirakopoulos, that Greek philosopher, talking about the film Casablanca. So this was the date it came out. One of the best movies ever. One of the most interesting stories ever was delivered today, but it wasn't published today. It was delivered as a Christmas present. See, we're going to get that Christmas theme going. November 26, 1864, Oxford mathematician at Oxford, so that's got to be somebody really smart. Charles Lutwidge Dodgson sent a handwritten manuscript, which he called Alice's Adventures Underground, to 12-year-old Alice Liddell. That's a sweet idea. Actually, the 30-year-old Dodgson, better known by his nom de plume, Lewis Carroll, made up the story one day on a picnic with young Alice and her two sisters, the children of one of Dodgson's colleagues. Dodgson, the son of a country parson, had been brilliant at both mathematics and wordplay since childhood. when he enjoyed making up games. However, he suffered from a severe stammer, except when he spoke with children. He had many young friends who enjoyed his fantastic stories. The Liddell children thought his tale of a girl who falls down a rabbit hole was one of his best efforts, and Alice insisted that he write it down. During a visit to the Liddells, English novelist Henry Kingsley happened to notice the manuscript, and after reading it, he suggested to Mrs. Liddell that it be published. Dodgson published the book at his own expense under the name Lewis Carroll in 1865, and the story is one of the earliest children's books written simply to amuse children, not to teach them. The book's sequel, Through the Looking Glass, was published in 1871. So, huge shout out to Through the Looking Glass and Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, which I've only seen films for. I have never actually read the books. If you have read those Lewis Carroll stories, let me know if you recommend them. I've seen excerpts, and the wordplay is truly brilliant, if not sometimes a little baffling and very charming. Even though having grown up as a very, very young person in the late 60s, but being a teenager in the late 70s, I know that it was also very attractive to the hippy-dippy generation. Irrelevant. Great writing is great writing. Happy... Okay, here's one that I'm going to totally mispronounce, and I'm putting it out there just for the fun of totally mispronouncing it. But to our friends in India, and listeners in India, and I don't know if Narendra is on live right now, but any of the folks who are listening in India, happy Kartika Purnima.
Please forgive us for butchering that.
Which is also Deva-Deepavali, or Dev-Diwali. It's 15 days after Diwali, the Festival of Lights.
Ah, yes.
There's a Festival of Lights for the gods.
Oh, how nice for them.
So this is the gods' version. The gods' version of the Festival of Lights takes place on the next full moon.
Oh, okay.
15 days after Diwali. So for you folks in India, I don't know if you actually celebrate that or not. But if you do...
Or if you consider yourself to be gods.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I think people in India have a better relationship with their gods than, for example, some of the monotheistic traditions that some of us were raised with.
Yep.
Yes, including Charles Schulz. Notice I say Charles Schulz.
Schulz?
Schulz.
Like Dr. Schulz?
No, Schulz. Well, like Schultz, but like without Schultz. A T.
Oh, Schulz.
Because something I only recently noticed in looking up, who was born on this day. This is the birth date of Charles Monroe Sparky Schulz, or Schulz, with no T.
I see.
Yeah, born on November 26, 1922. This is the man behind Peanuts, behind Charlie Brown, behind Snoopy, behind, A Charlie Brown Christmas.
Behind Joe Cool,
and
Snoopy's
Joe Cool.
cousin.
And I mentioned that religious connection and monotheism because although Charles Schulz was raised Lutheran and even taught Sunday school for a time, he actually came to be a secular humanist. He said, "I do not go to church anymore. I guess you might say I've come around to secular humanism." So he's probably not celebrating Diwali either. A huge shout out to Charles Schulz. I still put the T in there, even though I now know it's S-C-H-U-L-Z with no T. Interesting. I wonder if he pronounced it Schultz or Scholz. It's also the birth date of Willis Carrier. Everybody knows the inventor of air conditioning. That's all I'm going to say about that. Lived to the ripe old age of 73. Actually, in 1911, he presented his rational psychometric formulae to the American Society of Engineers. When you see pictures of Willis Carrier, they're usually cute pictures about, if we're going to thank anybody, thank this man for air conditioning, and we usually see those in the summertime. And he looks just like a normal guy. He doesn't look like a super genius. And then I imagine him presenting the rational psychometric formulae to the American Society of Engineers. I'm like, no wonder this is the guy we owe that huge debt to. Now, one more birthday. I said this would be a quick episode, right? Didn't I always say that? John McVie. And I mentioned John McVie because everybody else I've mentioned is Histoire, in the past, metaphysically challenged, no longer with us. John McVie is still alive. At the age of 78, one of the world's great bass players, of course, the bass player for Fleetwood Mac. Married Christine Perfect, who we know as Christine McVie, changed her name after the marriage. And she's no longer with us, but man, Fleetwood Mac in the days of John McVie and Christine McVie, Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks, Mick Fleetwood, it doesn't get much better than that. One more for this day, November 26th. November 26th is international and also national. I looked them both up. It really is true. Cake Day. I don't know. I would often take a food holiday and enjoy whatever that is during the show here with you, but man, did we indulge this weekend. Celebrating our 23rd anniversary. I don't think there's room for cake.
About cake.
Yes.
Just depending on what it is. Now, angel food cake, now that's kind of a separate sort of kind of cake, I think.
It can be a utility cake.
Yeah. However, if you're making real cake,
I
mean, whether that's red velvet, chocolate, vanilla, carrot, whatever you're making, spice cake. Woo! Use buttermilk in your recipe. Do not use milk. Use buttermilk. Because it's going to make your cake 1,000 times better, and it's going to make it nice and moist. It's going to make it, it's just going to make it just beautiful, and it's going to make your life 1,000 times better.
Buttermilk wherever milk would be used.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it's absolutely true, and I've done this on many cakes. There's actually a really good cake. One is probably my favorite that I've made myself is Guinness chocolate cake. So with actual Guinness stout, and then you frost it with Bailey's cream cheese frosting. It's really good, and you can make excellent cupcakes with that as well. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, you'll need to give me a link to that. Put it in the show notes. Do a Google search for Guinness chocolate cake.
Guinness chocolate cake.
It is very good. Every time Amy makes it, it's good. And you look it up on the internet every time, so it can't be that hard to find.
No, it's easy to find.
Good stuff. Sorry, Christopher Smith says, my dad drank buttermilk straight. Barf. Yeah.
My dad made, he didn't drink it straight, but he would crumble up a bunch of cornbread, like the dry cornbread, and then he would pour buttermilk over it and eat it. Yeah. And I tried doing that one time. I'm like, no, thanks. Yeah. It wasn't good.
Yeah. Reminds me of the expression milk toast.
Yeah.
Which is usually spelled Milque, and its origins might be different than this. But I knew somebody growing up where not just him, but his family would actually toast bread and then put it in a bowl of milk and eat it. Literal milk toast.
Oh.
Further proof that if God is dead, anything is permissible.
I guess milk toast comes from a fictional character.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a character trait. It's somebody who has no spine, no. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically the man who speaks softly and gets hit with a big stick.
That's good. I like that. That's good. That's a good euphemism. Matthew Humphreys has praised that euphemism, metaphysically challenged. You might not remember Counselor Humphreys, but, when I was growing up, we had political correctness, So, for example, we didn't talk about midgets. We talked about people who were height challenged. So it's very rude to call somebody dead. No. So, yeah, we have to come up with better ways to say those things. And Unsigned 32-bit Individualist is mentioning kefir. You would think with a last name like Nasir, I would know how to pronounce that.
Yeah, kefir is just...
Kefir.
I just call it kefir, like Kiefer Sutherland. Because kefir, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
All it is just...
Somebody correct us.
It's basically a drinking yogurt. That's all it really is. It's
Petia
fermented.
says buttermilk is good to drink alone. or add to raw oats, great for your bones. See, it comes down to what you're used to.
But in a cake, so back to the question.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's how this came.
I mean,
up.
sometimes
It is National Cake Day.
You can use sour cream in a cake. Very similar to buttermilk, depending on what it is. But buttermilk, I think, is the most. And of course, if you want to make a healthy so-called cake, you're going to end up using flour of some kind, whether that's almond flour, some kind of processed flour. And number one, that's a strike against you. You're going to die because of that cake. It's not healthy. You can't make a healthy cake. I'm sorry. So you can throw everything you got at it. You can stick in all kinds of, ground up, what do you call those seed things? You can put in, kefir. You can sweeten it with applesauce. You can use almond flour. You can just, you may as well just not eat the cake. So you can use artificial sweeteners for the frosting and maybe inside the cake. Ick.
Now I've got to mention. Oh, Jennifer's in the chat. Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, Jennifer.
Let's go see Geddy Lee.
Yes.
Akira Felix in the chat says, in the UK they're called dwarves, Robert. Now the irony there is that I tend to pick on, rag on, give a hard time to our UK friends because in the UK, the things that people have been arrested for saying are outrageous because they have no First Amendment. They don't have freedom of speech.
It's terrible.
But Akira Felix points this out that, they're called dwarves. In a way, in the United States, although we do have freedom of speech, the trouble people will give you for saying things like dwarf, rather than, short people.
No, it's supposed to be little people.
Little people. I guess you're supposed to ask. You're supposed to take a poll of everybody.
Yeah.
What would you like me to call you?
We have friends who are little people, of course, and but I don't know if they like the term little people. If I was a little person, I don't know if I'd really like the idea of calling. I would just be like short. I'm just really short.
Yeah. Well, our kind of friends usually don't want the PC, politically correct.
Yeah, they don't define themselves by their trauma or their disability or whatever it is. They're just human beings who are really great because they're our friends.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I mean, I get it.
Up.
I get it. People want to be polite and everything. That's great. And, but you should certainly get to know a person. And you shouldn't. This is the thing, is that oftentimes, especially nowadays, people don't get to really know people anymore because people are just too afraid to offend them, so they don't talk to them. They're just too afraid. They're too afraid.
Well, you have to be ready to approach everybody with a clipboard. Ask them their pronouns and their personal identity, and how am I allowed to refer to you?
It's like walking on eggshells. Just be friendly to people. If you mess up, you mess up. Whatever, and if they're a good person, they should forgive you because they should be able to see that you're also a good person.
Yeah.
So if they don't see that, that's not
They're
something
lost.
That you can help them with. So
they're lost. They're tough luck.
Yeah.
So speaking of cake, I identify as cake. No, my question about cake was going to be the best cake. What's your favorite cake? I want to see it in the chat. I want to see a list of cake. I tend to go for chocolate cake unless I'm feeling sassy, and I go for carrot cake. But
so sassy.
I need to expand my range. I want to know what's your favorite.
I bet you would like red velvet cake.
I actually don't. And red velvet cake, it tastes like it wanted to be chocolate cake, but it died halfway through, and so it's sort of a ghost of a cake.
It's a demon cake.
It's a demon cake. And we have devil's food cake that's more like a chocolate cake, but red velvet cake it just doesn't want to be called chocolate cake. So it has something a little different about it so that it doesn't just get called chocolate cake, and it ends up being not as good as chocolate cake.
It's nice because it's got cream cheese frosting. That's a staple of red velvet cake. And it's got a little touch of cocoa, and that's just fine. But, I mean, I like vanilla cake. I like just about any kind of cake. Robert, you are very, very particular about your cakes. I don't think you like coconut cake. You don't like coconut.
I don't like coconut on cake.
Right.
Yeah. I don't like coconut on a lot of things, but, give me an Almond Joy or a Mounds Bar. I'm good with coconut.
Yeah. No, but I love, actually, that's one of the things that I need to do is I need to make a wintry coconut cake. I would love to do that. Because I love coconut. Yeah, yellow cake, of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah, lemon cake. I like lemon cake. I like just about any cake. Yeah.
Yeah, lemon cake, cherry cake. That's interesting to me because, of course, those are cakes. Here in the States, lemon cake is not unusual.
Yeah.
But when I hear lemon or cherry, I think pie.
Right, or lemon bars. That's nice too. I like, what I like lemon in is sugar cookies. I like, Martha Stewart has a really nice recipe for sugar cookies that requires lemon zest. It's fantastic. It's so good. It's buttery and lemony, and it's just perfect.
Yes. Sorry, I'm following the chat here. A lot of options, a lot of suggestions. Stephen Katz says, how about yellow cake? No, he doesn't mean yellow cake. He means yellow cake. Yes, that's a very radioactive idea there. What is Welsh cake? Matthew Humphreys, you'll have to tell us what is Welsh cake.
Oh, I got to look this up.
Or is that actually a thing? Is it just...
Does anybody like, let's see, Welsh cake is...
Oh my God, what is that?
Flaky, tender, melt-in-your-mouth texture with sweet currants and spices.
Currants and spices.
So it's basically kind of like a fruit cake cookie, which I love. I think, you know what? I love anything that's old Christmas, that, is I don't know, Victorian or pagan or whatever it is, or however far it dates back to. But I absolutely love, like mincemeat. We went to Greenfield Village and they were making a mincemeat pie that actually had suet in it. And I'm like, oh God, I would love to taste that. You can't really get mincemeat anymore with suet included in it. Yeah, suet is, I think it's from a pig or a cow. Let me see. But it's from a cow, or actually, or lamb, or so it's basically the fat that's around the loins and the kidneys.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's like calf suet, beef suet.
All right, so I see Narendra has joined us on the Facebook side of things. So happy Kartika Purnima. Or maybe that's not something we should actually wish someone, but it came up in the list of holidays for today. It's Dev-Diwali. It's the later Diwali for the gods. And Narendra's here and glad to see him here. And he says, I like coconut on many things. Now, fortunately, you're on the Facebook side because over on the YouTube side of things, Akira Felix is being really harsh about coconut. Totally hating on so is Stephen Katz hating on the coconut.
I don't understand that.
And, well...
It's okay. It's okay.
It's kind of like walnuts.
Namaste.
And what I mean when I say it's like walnuts is that I like walnuts. I like walnuts until they show up in something they weren't supposed to be in. And coconut can be that way. Coconut has a place. It has a purpose. Very delimited. I wouldn't go as far as Akira and say I hate it. I just need it to, know its place.
Yeah, Jim Ashley says, he mentions a poppy seed cake when he puts cream sherry in the cake, I suppose. Or you could make a nice cream sherry glaze and put that over the top of it. That's great. Yes.
So now that the gang's all here, what are we watching this week? I got very little. But one of them is very important. And you decide which of these two is the really, really important one that we're watching and you need to watch. The first one, I think it's the only episode of the reality show, the Ayn Rand Center UK show, that Amy and I were on this week. And we were both on the same episode. November, don't have the date. I just have the title. Institutional Islamophobia Within the Labour Party, ? It's always interesting when we get invited to a show that's all about the UK, being that we're here in the colonies. fortunately, we have the internet. We can look these things up. I actually was able to find out who Starmer was, who the Labour Party was, what an MP is. What do you mean, what an MP is? Well, an MP is military police. Mm-hmm. And all of our UK friends are, what are you talking about? It's a member of Parliament. So it's been interesting learning a little bit of how things work in the UK. The other video of interest, now you decide, again, which of these was the important one. Last night, Amy went live with me on Facebook Live.
Yes.
And congratulated all of the recent sponsors in the Robert Garmong fundraiser.
Yes. So cool. If you were one of them, thank you so much. I think Jim, you're out there.
Oh, Jim was definitely in the recent sponsors list and got a shout out.
Yes.
If you missed it, facebook.com/Amy Nasir. You can watch the video there.
Yes.
Maybe I'm making it too obvious which one I thought was the more important video. Thank you to those of you who have contributed in the past, and especially over this last week. There were some funding needs that came up as things have progressed, and y'all came through.
Let me talk about this just for a little bit, because I fell off the radar with this whole fundraising thing. This has been pretty tough.
Well, you had it in self-maintenance mode for a month or so there.
Yeah, and
nothing wrong with that.
So there were occasional donations that came in and everything, and now I'm in marketing, and so I decided to apply some good marketing principles to the situation. But besides that, the situation is pretty urgent with Robert Garmong, and let me just tell you, I put the note out there. I said, let me cut to the chase. We need to fundraise about $10,000 hopefully within this next week. Hopefully, please help. So basically, so Robert Garmong, he's in China, with his wife and his young son. He recently went through a liver ablation. Just real quick, is basically they got the little nodules of cancer of his neuroendocrine tumors off of his liver, but they could only do like half of his liver because they didn't want to do the whole thing and like mess it up and make him sick. So now he has to go through another surgery soon, probably within the next couple of weeks, to get the rest of the neuroendocrine tumors off of there. Neuroendocrine tumors, for those who really want to know, they're slow growing. This is a genetic kind of thing that he had, and it's one of these things where people kind of live with it and they just sort of cope with it, and every so often they go in, they get a scan, and then they figure out whether or not they have to do chemotherapy again. They need to figure out if they're going to get more surgery again and all this other stuff. It doesn't metastasize, say, like lung cancer or something like that. It's not crazy awful in that way, but it is menacing, and it is a threat to your life if you have it, because it can lead to all sorts of complications. Robert Garmong has been through those complications. He still has yet to get over a couple of them, like he has a thrombosis issue and a heart murmur, for instance, because of all the chemo that he's been going through. And so he's got one more surgery, but he's basically, as of less than a week ago, he was basically out of money. And he doesn't have income coming in. So, what do you do? What do you do if you don't have income coming in? His wife basically takes care of him and their child. So she's got a lot on her plate, and it's a pretty desperate situation. So I raised the alarm bells, and we're around 4,000 at this point out of 10, which I'm extremely happy with. But we still have more to go, and we need help. So I'm reaching out to anybody who wants to become part of our Team Garmong fundraising team on GoFundMe, and just get the word out there, because this is an urgent message. It has a lot of reality basis around that. This is no pie in the sky, floating abstraction stuff here. This is real stuff. If Robert Garmong doesn't get this money raised, he will have to put off the surgery. I mean, things, we don't want that. We don't want to see that. We want to see him on schedule with his surgery, want to see him on schedule with getting his thrombosis and his heart murmur under control. We want to see him on schedule to get to the States. He's already set in motion the process by which he can get himself and his family to the States, to Illinois. And he's hoping, we're hoping that it's going to be sometime early next year, around the first half of next year, hopefully. But we need this but this big push here to get him through this, through the end of this treatment cycle, and then we'll be good. So I am overwhelmed and extremely grateful for all the people who have responded so far and who have contributed and just donated so generously. I mean, it's been incredible to see people reaching out, helping out Robert and his family, and it's been absolutely amazing to see the generosity, the valuing, the goodwill, the positivity, the benevolence of people, especially in the objectivist community, and other people who have. There was a lady who her name was Amy as well. Amy's are the best. But she reached out, she made a donation, and she said, my husband has been going through neuroendocrine tumor situations for a while, and we understand what Robert Garmong is going through, and I'm so glad that we can help. So, this is something that I'm very, very thankful. If you want to be on our team, please reach out to me if you want to help out and brainstorm some ideas. At this point, I'm getting the word out. The word is positive. The word is momentum. The word is reaching that goal. And we're going to do it, and I have every confidence that we're going to do it. So thank you. There you are.
All right.
There's my sales pitch.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, so that fundraiser video, that was great fun to do last night. And again, a huge shout out to all of you who have already been part of this, both in the past and recently, which we were celebrating last night. Kira Felix says in the chat, and I'm gonna read this out because it's kind of relates to something that I want to mention. Sorry, Robert, I haven't watched the reality show, but I will catch up eventually. I tried to watch it, but I can't watch it right now. It's that time of year when I don't want to know sad things. I totally understand that. And if you do watch it, you're going to notice Amy's not there this month. Maybe not for the whole month. We'll see how that goes. But at least for a while, Amy, you're pulling back a little bit because, it's not the time of the year for... I mean, you're up on the news. It's not that you're evading what's going on, but there's only so much time you want to spend talking about it and talking about it and talking about it.
Yeah. So, before I get into this, though, if you want to go to tinyurl/Garmong, Garmong, I also put the link on YouTube there. I'm going to put it in Facebook for Robert Garmong's wonderful
ways you can connect to that
fundraising page. So there's that. So but in the meantime, I had to let the team over at ARC UK, or ARC UK as we're calling it now, I think, or Ayn Rand Center United Kingdom.
I only ever hear ARC UK, but maybe some folks are saying ARC.
Yeah, I heard. Actually, I had James Valiant refer it to that.
If James says it, then it
has
gold.
To be true.
It's canon.
Yes. So anyway, this past couple of months, it's been daunting to keep up with the worst story in the news. Oh my God. It's the worst story for so many reasons. It'll depress you. It'll turn your heart into little mincemeat pies, and they won't taste very good because they don't have beef suet in them. And it's so depressing, and it's awful. And I really wish I could help. And I have been helping, though. I have been helping. I'm going to, stand by Israel. I still have my little Star of David earrings on, which is great, and I can, reach out to our friends who are from Israel or who are Jewish and support them. But the idea of just talking about the news over and over and over again with the same, it is so demoralizing, because I feel like we're spinning our wheels in a way. I know we're not, but I think there has to be fresh approaches to the situation. And until there is a fresh approach to the situation, I'm stepping back. So, and it's okay. It's all right. I'm just taking a little reprieve, and it's all right. It's okay to say no. It's okay to know your limitations. A man's got to know his limitations, as Dirty Harry says. So, yeah. So I'm just giving myself a little gift of stepping back and stepping away and not focusing on the Hamas war as much as I have been.
Yeah,
so.
I think there's actual value in that. Mm. I think that for a couple different reasons. One of them is, simply news fatigue, war fatigue. At some point, you overdose on this stuff and you're not thinking critically about what you're hearing anymore. And the other thing is that there's still that element missing from the conversation, which is, what are we fighting for? We know what we're fighting, and there's a lot to be said about that, but I don't hear as much about what we're fighting for. We need to get back to at least some of that. Otherwise, this stuff will drive us a bit batty. Yeah, and you know what, Jim on Facebook here, he comes up with a great question. How can we monetarily support Israel? There are a number of specific, like, for instance, I would see, on the Facebook feed, support the Red Cross, or support some sort of anti-hunger foundation or whatever that's basically working with both sides, mainly the Palestinians. And I, I personally don't want to help I just don't. I don't want to do that for a number of reasons. Mainly I don't want to help Hamas. And the Palestinians have gotten themselves in the situation through their own fault. I'm saying it. Of putting Gaza in as their government. Hamas in as their government.
I'm sorry. Hamas in as their government. This is their own fault. For 17 years, this is their own fault. So I think that the Palestinians should again rise up against Hamas. Join the Israeli side. Wake up to the real year here. It's not. This is not year 800. This is year 2023. So, learn to want to live your life. Learn to want to actually live on Earth. Please learn to value happiness. Learn to value freedom. Please. Learn to value prosperity, independence, individuality, all of it, please. Rationality, the number one thing, okay. Follow reason, please. Okay, so enough of that. So, so anyway, about charities, you can find them. We can put that into our show notes. I can send you some links that will specifically help the Israeli people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to investigate where your money's going to go, but it's not too terribly difficult with the internet to find out who is not just supporting efforts, but supporting them in the way you want to see them supported. I'm a big fan of the American Red Cross, except when they do the wrong things. And when they do them wrong, they do them terribly wrong. You can find cases in which they have supported, for example, they piggybacked on the UN when the UN was making some of its worst decisions in World War II and in other efforts. So yes, it's something to look into. It's something to investigate. Amy, I'm sure you will do a good job with that and share that information out there.
Yeah.
Again, I support the Red Cross, but selectively. Being for example, a regular blood donor, a regular donor in general. And, but yeah, you got to be careful. You got to know where your money's going and what it's going for.
And I commend that question, because you want to do something. You want to do something that will actually help, and that's important. So yeah, I encourage people to look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Narendra, incidentally, is in the chat. He said earlier, we had dinner yesterday because it was Kartika Purnima. The whole village was there in the temple. It was quite a sight. That's good to hear. We do so many things around Christmas, whether we're Christians or not. Amazing traditions, amazing opportunities to celebrate. And we will talk more about that. But Narendra says, and he knows this is my perspective, Hamas and the Palestinians can end it. Israel can not. This war could be over. That's what Narendra says, and I agree completely. This war could be over tomorrow. All we need is for Hamas to surrender. This war, and Israel can't surrender. It wouldn't end the war. It would end Israel. But Hamas can end this. All of the options are in their hands. And if you look at what they are letting the people of Gaza go through in the name of what they are doing, and I know everybody wants to blame, too many people want to blame Israel for that, but yeah, this could all be over immediately. Yeah. Israel didn't ask for this war. Israel can't stop this war unless they win this war. It's just that simple. There are no. What are the alternatives? What are the other options?
Right.
There aren't any. Either Hamas surrenders or Israel wins this war, because any other option wipes out massive populations of people, far worse than anything that Israel is being accused of. So anyway, very simple.
Yeah.
Narendra, you're right on the
and Akira,
on the dot there.
And Akira, I totally get what you're saying. Yes, the Israeli people, they're a rich country, of course, but what they need is moral strength. But if you do want to support them with moral strength in the form of a monetary donation, I think that they would be certainly appreciative of the gesture.
Yeah.
So yeah, very true.
Good. Yeah, Petya is giving more advice, which we can forward off to Dr. Garmon, which he probably knows, but the way in which Medicaid works with hospitals that specialize in cancer, he will probably need to get involved in that, whether he regards himself as somebody who wants to collect from Medicaid or not. At some point, availability of services depends on what you're signed in for. But yes, I think he's aware of that, but it's always worth saying. Jim Ashley says, can you think of any specific means of support and giving? Any particular agencies other than the Red Cross? Not offhand, but we'll look into it, and we'll share some of that information on the socials and get it out there, because it is a great question.
There's Megan David Adam, which is the donating to Israeli medical teams. That's I'll put it in the chat there. There's also the IFCJ, which the International Fellowship of Christian and Jews. Another good one.
Now, I didn't mean to make the whole show about fundraising and war, but...
Woo! So fun. Merry Christmas, everybody.
But the reason I'm dressed a little more festively than usual, and the reason why I wanted to talk with you all today, despite having pulled into the door at the very last minute. In fact, we pulled into the door, parked the car in the driveway. We usually park it in the garage. Unloaded our, luggage and all the things from this great weekend we had. Then I went to pull the car into the garage, and the car wouldn't start. And I noticed this when we were in Port Huron a couple times. I went to start, the kids push button start, like modern car. And the engine hesitated a little bit, like it was trying, and then it caught. Not a good sign. Honda Accord should not be working that way. Get back here, and yeah, the car would not start. Could not get the car from the driveway into the garage. Bad battery, dead battery. Drove fine, for 100, 120 miles, whatever it was. Because it's running on the alternator, you car people know how this works. So, bottom line, ran out, got a new battery, installed it in the vehicle, did all the testing. This is all very last minute. Why I'm doubly glad that you all are here. You got very little notice about the show, and even YouTube wasn't promoting it the way that it normally would. And all I wanted to do was see your lovely messages in the chat and say two things. One is, and I mentioned this earlier, we may or may not be on at 6 o'clock next Sunday because there's a Christmas concert by the Dexter Community Orchestra. I've mentioned them before. The Dexter Community... Amy, you've participated in community orchestras.
Yes.
And they were good, but they weren't great. The Dexter Community Orchestra is really, really good. I might almost say they're a great orchestra.
They're great.
You go to their concerts, and it's all volunteer. It's a community orchestra. They do their concerts in a high school, but it's not a high school like most of us have ever seen. Their auditorium looks like a concert hall, a classical music concert hall. Beautiful. And their concerts are just top-notch. So they're doing their Christmas show next Sunday, 4 p.m. Our show is usually at 6 p.m. We'll see. We'll see if we pull that one off. The second thing I wanted to do, besides warning you that our schedule might change, and that's why I want to get a little Christmas in even before December, I've got 2 tips for you. Because a lot of you are shopping. A lot of people are doing, Cyber Monday tomorrow or just Christmas shopping. My tips for you are this. You deserve the best. I've said that before. If anybody deserves the best, it's you and your people you're buying for. So whatever you're buying for Christmas, whatever you're buying for yourself, get the best. Okay, that one's easy and obvious, and you're like, I can't always afford the best. So my real tip, and this is what I really wanted to put out there today, you deserve the second best. This used to be common knowledge, but I wanted to give you a link. So I tried looking for it on the internet, and I couldn't find it. Apparently, this is not the generally accepted wisdom that it once was. If your money is tight, or even if it's not, but you want to make sure you stretch it as far as you can, the real secret is never buy the best of anything. Always buy the second best of everything. Because if you compare features, if you compare value, it's always a better deal. The second best will not have as much extra fluff, but it will have all of the quality of the very best. And this is not always true, but it's often true. So what I really mean to say is don't always get the second best. Always consider, and this is going to be true across the board. You're going to find this in restaurants. You're going to find this with food, including shopping, groceries, home foods. You're going to find this with services. You're going to find this with electronics and technology. You deserve the second best. You really do deserve the best. But if money is tight and you're having to buy it yourself, always look at the second best. And it may also be out of your price range, but the other thing about the second best is it will last longer. And so you will enjoy it longer. And for all of that long period of time, you will enjoy the quality of having the best or very close to it. So, Christmas is coming. Again, you're going to see me I couldn't find my Santa hat, so we went... I think it's a good look anyway. Christmas is coming. I want you in the spirit. Amy, you were talking before Thanksgiving about how you're not feeling Christmas. Well, I wasn't feeling much either. But we went out, we got our tree, always a live tree. It's actually here in the studio. And we're ready. We're ready to start moving in that direction. And being out in Port Huron, Michigan, where they're starting to decorate for Christmas, we're starting to feel it. We hope you are too. We will be wishing you a Merry Christmas throughout the month of December. We will be visiting Greenfield Village for their holiday nights and sharing some of those pictures and experiences with you on the socials and maybe a little bit here too. We hope you're just starting to feel it, starting to warm up from it or chill out from it. We got snow for the first time today. A little bit on Halloween this year, but it really hasn't been snowing in Motown. Today we got snow. And I want to share it with you. That's why we did it. Quick show. Again.
Quick show.
You know, if it wasn't for the damn war, well, and the need for fundraising, and our earnest thanks to all of you.
And I'll say this, I'll just say this real quick. Jim raises a good point. He said that James Valiant mentioned something important the other day, what they should do about the future hostages. Ooh, okay, I know. I don't want to get rolled up. Calm. Om Namaste. You know, so yes, he raised a good point about Israel. They need to think in terms of not necessarily the hostages that are out there right now, but the ones that will be taken in the future because they didn't do enough to dismantle Hamas. Yes, so it's a great point. Isn't that wonderful? So
why? Oh, don't get me going on the war. Okay, Hamas comes out, they slaughter 1,000 civilians. But they also take a bunch of hostages. Why did they take hostages? Who taught them that taking hostages is a viable military strategy? Oh, wait, they've done this before and got an exchange. And not a one-for-one hostage exchange, but you give us one of our Israeli hostages back, we'll give you a bunch of not just average citizens like these hostages were,
the amount,
but criminals, or in the past, actual militants. And yes, on a 3-to-1 or in the past 5-to-1 basis. So they taught Israel, if we take hostages, I'm mixing up my pronouns here. It's an age where everybody mixes up their pronouns.
Befuddling. All of this is befuddling.
The lesson of the past was take hostages, it'll work out. So they took more hostages, having learned that lesson. And what is Israel doing now? Reinforcing the lesson. I don't want to sound callous. I don't want to say to hell with the hostages. We should have, the United States should have sent in special forces, whatever was possible, whatever was necessary, whatever they could do to get those hostages back. But they can't be part of the military calculation. All they have done is put up a big banner that says, do more hostages in the future. It works out really well for you. All right. God,
anyway.
No more war. Not going to talk about the war.
Yeah.
Anybody says Hamas, I'm going to assume they said hummus, and we're talking about dinner.
You know, the kind with the extra garlic in it, maybe the little paprika, perhaps.
Yes.
Oh, and some nice, those nice crispy bagel chips. That's great. And
Christopher Smith just changed the subject. He says, want to get ice cream? The answer is always yes to ice cream. We live in Motown. We live in Snowtown 3 months out of the year. And even in the dead of winter, I will always say yes to ice cream. So we're going to wrap up. I'm going to go get ice cream. I don't know if we have any ice cream. If not, we'll go out and get some. Folks, thank you for joining us.
Oh, real quick before we go.
Not war.
No.
Okay.
So this is a funny thing. So if you're not friends with James Valiant on Facebook, please see about him. And if you're not following him on Twitter, please follow him on Twitter, because there's an old band from the 80s called Twisted Sister, and their lead singer, Dee Snider, who is a real hero back in the 80s because he went up against the PMRC, the
Parents Music Resource Council, the people who put the warning labels on records and tried to keep your kids from being able to buy them. Yeah,
Al Gore's wife, Tipper Gore, headed up this censorship program.
Democrats? Censorship? Who would have thought?
Who would have thunk? And so, they demanded that any album that had, you play it backwards and you hear something satanic maybe, or you want a rating system on it, like movies, for instance. She was the one who started all of that nonsense. So, and if they wanted to do it willingly, they should have done it willingly, but not have the government force it down their throats like that. But anyway, Dee Snider went up against the PMRC, and he had some choice words for them, and he was actually very, very intelligent, very well thought out. And so he recently read a really great book by James Valiant called Creating Christ.
Dee Snider of Twisted Sister read Creating Christ and raved about it on the socials. He's on Twitter, and he doesn't know who James Valiant is. He's just like this brilliant guy. And James responds to him, and Dee Snider's all like, "You're the best, man. This is so great."
Dee Dee Snider thinks that James Valiant is an absolute rock star. So
if you're on the socials, look for that. It's a great exchange.
It is such a
very
wonderful,
fun and also inspiring.
So inspiring, so fun, so lovely.
I do have a Post-it note for the day. My Post-it note says, "Don't you dare settle for fine." This goes along with "You deserve the best," or at least the second best. If you don't know where this line comes from, you might not have watched Ted Lasso yet. If you haven't watched the Apple TV series Ted Lasso yet, this is my Christmas present to you. Now, if you don't get Apple TV, sign up for it. It's just one of those apps on whatever you're using to watch streaming stuff. Sign up for a month or 2 months, whatever it takes you to watch the series Ted Lasso. And don't you dare settle for fine.
Yes.
And that's it. God, that's so freaking good. Hannah
It
Waddingham.
was very good. Oh, I love her so much.
Hannah Waddingham has a Christmas special we need to watch still.
Wait, she has a Christmas special?
She has a Christmas special, new this year.
Oh.
So we will be watching that. We are sure to report on it when we talk to you next. When we talk to you next will be soon. But until then, God, did we go long. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sticking it out till the end, those of you who stuck it out. And for joining us. You are the best audience in podcasting. You're not yet the biggest audience in podcasting, so if you could, if you're on YouTube or even on the Facebook side, like this show, share this show, tell everybody you know that you will injure them if they don't watch this show, or at least that you encourage them to take a look at this show. Thank you. Thank you to those of you who do watch, who do share. We've had a few new subscribers. We need a lot more, but we've had them, and I am grateful for that.
Yes.
Feeling it here in the heart. If you have ideas for future shows, please share them with us. Since we've been planning to do more interviews, and we've got a couple of them, but we got so much more we need to do, share with us also anybody you think we should interview. Ideally, people we have a chance of interviewing. If you want us to interview Joe Biden, whether you like him or you just want us to ask him WTF, that might be hard to get. But any ideas you have for interviews, please let us know. If you would like to support the show financially, money? Yeah, you can do that too. Yes. We're on PayPal. We're on Patreon. One time or monthly, go to robertnasir.com. The links are there. And with that said, all that's left is to wish you an outstanding week between now and whenever it is we go live again. Again, could be some question about that first Saturday in December. But if you're in Southeast Michigan, you should be seeing the Dexter Community Orchestra's Christmas concert. Either way, we wish you, I don't mean wishes in the whim worshiping sense. No, I mean it in the sense that we know it's possible because you are among the best people in podcast listeners in general. Virtuous, awesome, beautiful, unusually good looking. We wish you all of the success that you so richly deserve.
And we have much goodwill for you.
Goodwill. Goodwill toward men and especially women. Goodwill towards persons.
Goodwill toward all human beings, except for the baddies.
Maybe we should just go back to, well, you know what's coming. We do. We wish you love.